Today, we're going to explore the intersection of AI and digital design with Jesse Showalter. Jesse's the founder of Good Fight Creative Co. and is also a teacher of UI and UX. His YouTube channel has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Jesse also leads a creative community called Design Champs, where he teaches design, career, freelancing, financial freedom, and crafting the career of your dreams. I'm excited to talk to you about what's happening with AI and design. So welcome, Jesse.
Thanks for having me. Very, very excited about the conversation.
All right. So what is a great user experience? Okay. And what is a great user interface? Let's start at the beginning.
Those are good questions. Yeah. I think Steve Jobs said it best, and he kind of encapsulated both UI, UX design, all those things into this idea of just design. What is good design? And Steve Jobs said it best when he said, good design is invisible design. Good design doesn't necessarily look good. It works really, really well. And so we can dive really, really deep into that definition. But I love the idea of design being so good you don't realize how efficient and effective it is as you're using it. It's that invisible experience that just makes you laugh, makes you smile, gives you that warm and fuzzy feeling, and helps you to accomplish your goals. I think that's a good product, and there's a lot of user experience that goes into it. The user interface itself should be unobtrusive. It should be, it could be all sorts of different styles, but at the end of the day, it should really accentuate my goals. It should be serving me. And anytime a design serves itself, that's poor design. Any time a design serves my goals, it's a good design.
That's beautiful. That's a really great insight, and I agree completely. Most people, when they think of great design, they basically unconsciously think of something that calls attention to itself, when actually great design is something that doesn't, that just is an amplifier or something that really shows you the product or shows you the experience. Right? What are the mistakes people make when they get started? Because I mean, you see a lot of designs, I have as well. Most people, when they try to make something look good, they do a bunch of stuff that makes it not look good. What are the mistakes people make with UI and UX?
It's funny because I think as human beings, the mistakes we make when we start trying to think about creativity or design are the same mistakes that we make when we think about money or fitness or careers or anything. Is we try to address it on the surface level. We try to address the symptoms, we try to address the thing that we can see, and we fail to dig deeper and figure out, why is this thing working? Why does this thing look so good, feel so good, work so well? I can look at somebody in the gym with six-pack abs, which I definitely do not have, and go, I want those. And I can maybe buy the equipment, wear the clothes, try to do it. But if I don't sit down and figure out the technique and figure out the mentality or the mindset of getting up every day at 5 a.m. and trying to get those six-pack abs, I'm never going to quite get there. So I think the issue that people have is they try to solve things on that surface level. And in the design realm, a lot of times that has to do with tools, or it has to do with features, or it has to do with what's trending or a buzzword or what's flashy right now. So it could be, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to learn 3D, animation right now. I'm going to learn this cool technology or this tool, and you can cause a lot of harm. You create a lot of ugly things with tools and features without getting down to that foundational why. I think the why is the important question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really studying the fundamentals, right? Like anything else, just going back and learning the basics of design and typography, and then building. You can do so much with so little, and then all of the kind of the fancy stuff, I guess, on top is, I don't know, it's the cherry on top. It's not it's not
Yeah,
the
my
dessert.
my son plays basketball. He's 11 years old, and he wants
Mhm.
to dunk. He wants to spin. He wants to look like Jordan. Like, he wants to do the whole thing, right? But I keep pushing him back to the basics, like dribbling, like moving, like crossing, like all of those basic
Mhm.
things done well. Those are the things that Jordan worked on. Those are the things that the LeBron James and the Shaquille O'Neals and the Kobe Bryants are famous for. It's you can't do the flashy thing, right? The flashy thing is actually just an execution of 100 little basic things or foundational things done well. And so it's
Mhm.
always pushing people to focus on those basics. And guess what? Like, the cool things come from it. And
Mhm.
I'm always reminded, like, years ago, I had an uncle who was very handy. He was kind of like an outdoors guy, a building kind of guy, and he taught me how to use each one of the tools in his toolbox. And you really have to wear that. If you're a kid that's never learned how to use a hammer, trying to figure out the hammer, like what's the claw for? How can I use this? So you have to learn all the little unique things about each individual tool. And that's all you can focus on at that time is all of just those little like mechanics of the elements, right? But after you
Hmm.
start mastering tools, what starts to just just a clear byproduct of that is the next like consequence is, hey, like what can I start making with these things that I know how to use? So, but I think people go to the what can I make versus how do I get in control of these basic mechanics?
Hmm. And here we're exploring the intersection of AI and other things, and right now we're talking about design. So from there, how are people using AI right now for design and for user interface and user experience? Like what's happening right now?
Yeah. I think the primary means that or way that people are using AI right now is to try to offload what is just common, I think, in any industry, any task, any job, but is very, very common in the design industry, which is a lot of pixel pushing, a lot of repetitive tasks, a lot of the minutia or mundane work. So,
Hmm.
being able to like we've seen a login screen a million times. I know it should be on a login screen. Do I really want to, or do I want to make somebody else build yet again another login screen? And what AI has done, which is super helpful, is it's starting to even more so start to capture a lot of these what we call patterns, simple UI patterns, a
Hmm.
button next to a form, or a bottom tab bar navigation with 4 tabs in it on an iPhone, application. Like these are very
Hmm.
common patterns that we see over and over, and we've proved them out. They've through tried and true like testing, we've just figured out that these work well, these work best for a lot of users. So we can teach AI how to do those, and AI can do those for us. And in the words of a good friend of mine, Dan Mall, who's a design systems, like the design systems guru, he would say what that allows us to do is offload a lot of that minutia and allow us to start designing with our words, start designing with our thought process. It's really elevating our ability to start problem solving more complex things and leave some of those mundane things to the tasks and those tasks for computers to do.
Could you show us any examples of how you're offloading tasks to AI and kind of speeding up your workflow?
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of good tools on the market right now that can be very, very helpful. Probably one of the, best things you could do is I like any sort of AI assistance or help that's as close as possible to the applications you're already working with. And in the design
Mhm.
industry, that's what a lot of people are doing is artificial intelligence blended in with plugins inside of common applications we use every day, like Figma or Adobe products. So that workflow can be very, very helpful because I don't have to go out to some other platform. I think a good example would be I'm in Figma right now. I'm using their product called Fig Jam, which is like basically a big whiteboard, and we could draw things, write things. And a really common thing would be, as a UX designer, I need to start creating maybe a flow chart. I need to figure out how to get the user from, a sign in like here and lead them to some sort of next steps, right? Each of these representing a screen or a step in the user flow. And I mean, it's something that I've done a million times and still have to do for most projects I work on. But Figma's recently introduced some new AI help where it allows me to maybe create an org chart or any of these things. And I can just start generating, like maybe I need a flow chart and we can continue to prompt AI to help us. A flow chart for a new, let's call it a banking app. Let's see if I could type today. So like a new banking app, the user flow shown should include, let's see, how about just like simple logging in and, um, viewing your accounts, something like that. Let's see if I can spell correctly today and see if we can like view the accounts. Now, this is like real basic stuff, but I'm going to press generate. And again, this is the power of like AI because we've fed artificial intelligence all of these models, all of these patterns. Like we know what logins look like. We know the steps that the user's probably going to take on their route to accomplish their goals. So without me having to do all of that mundane task work, I now have this is where my user starts. They're going to open the banking app, enter their username and password, and I even get what we call like decision diamonds. Are the credentials correct? If yes, I'm going to move them into the login successful. If not, Let's bring them back around. This is the type of documentation that is not only important for me as I'm brainstorming and thinking through all the screens I need to design, but as I design screens, I can also present these to my developers or my engineering teams and say, here's the logic of how this flow is going to work. And I have the screens to support each one of these boxes. So that just saved me, maybe could be 30 minutes, could be 45 minutes of thought work. And it did it for me with just a simple text prompt. And if I multiply that same process over and over and over for all the projects that I work on, I start to ask myself, how does that free me up to actually do more creative problem solving, deeper problem solving? Because I left all the minutia and this simple task to artificial intelligence. It's very dependable for things like this. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get a pretty decent result there. And that's been pretty exciting.
Hey, quick question for you. What are you learning from this interview? And what do you want to learn next? Well, you probably want to stay ahead of the curve with AI just like we want to. And we want to be your top resource for interesting, cutting edge AI tools and knowledge here on Metamind. We're finding and interviewing interesting experts from different worlds, different industries. And then we're using this knowledge so we can keep up with AI and improve our success, improve our quality of life. So stay with us on this journey. So first, click on the subscribe button, which you'll find under the video, so that YouTube puts this into your feed when we release new interviews with AI experts. And if you're enjoying this interview, please give me a like to let others know that this is the real deal. And also, if you know someone who's interested in what we're talking about here, then send this interview to them so that they can learn with you. And I also want to hear from you. So go down to the comments below and let me know, what's your favorite prompt or prompting technique? What are your favorite AI resources or tools? What are you learning from this conversation? Do you disagree with anything we're saying here? And also, what else would you like to learn? Who would you like me to interview here on Metamind? All right, well, go and subscribe, leave me a comment below, and back to our interview.
We can leverage things like ChatGPT, and we can ask it to, act like basically a user experience persona for us. I can feed it a bunch of information, and you and your viewers have probably seen ChatGPT a million times, so I won't bore you with it. But if I ask ChatGPT to act like a user experience consultant and help me build a persona, I can say, ask me questions about my core demographic, about the sociographics of my user base. And then it can ask me those questions. I can feed it into it. And then I can start running that user persona through some thoughts. Hey, what does it feel like if I move you from screen A to C versus screen A to B? And AI can give me some pretty good examples of what my user persona might say. And this is going to save me time from having to assemble actual live user testing sessions, study groups, and it saves a lot on budget and time and just resources in general. Now, how on are these results going to be? Only time will tell. They're getting us pretty close. There's always going to be room, I always say this, for a custom tailored suit. But that doesn't mean that there's not a place for me to walk into a Men's Warehouse and pick a suit off the rack if I need one today, right? So there's always going to be custom versus AI generated solutions. As time goes on, we'll see how close those start to blend into each other, which I think is going to be pretty fun to do. Another cool example would be on the visual side of things, not so much on the logic or on maybe like some of that strategic concepting work in something like a user flow diagram, but I could jump into like a blank file inside of Figma. Again, all this is like plug-in like based, right? So all of it's living right here. And a good buddy of mine named Pablo Stanley, who you should definitely have on the show because he's a mad scientist in both creativity and artificial intelligence, just came out with a new plugin or a tool called Mushu AI. And what it's going to allow me to do is create landing pages from a massive, amount of information gathered and collected to build like this base of information and using AI. Now I can create a landing page and at least get the process started, because one of the greatest deterrents for creative is the blank canvas. And now this is going to help us solve that. So if, what kind of one-page website do we want? Maybe a podcast landing page. I want to promote episodes and sign people up for the mailing list, something like that. And we'll go ahead and click. And Mushu is going to work like right here within my design tool. What's great about this is when it's done, The design tool is like everything is actually editable layers. I'm going to be able to manipulate, change things around, work through things, and tweak it to my liking. But you can see it's working in real time, generating a website for me, right? So I can zoom out a little bit so we can see more of the generation happening and move our plugin out of the way. You can see there it is. It's building the layout. And again, it's pulling all this information from everything it knows about podcast landing pages, about signups, about episodes, about that type of information. And it's jamming it all into this creative idea. And the whole thing might take around 30 seconds. But here's what's great. It's leveraging copy generating AI like ChatGPT to write the copy for me. It's leveraging image generation tools like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney to create imagery for me that it feels like it's going to work and match the description I've given it. I can see it's just about finished there, so we can close the plugin. And what we have is like a nice navigation up here at the top, like kind of really cool background imagery. We've got call to actions, buttons. We even have sections. There's the sign up that it totally like respected my request. Maybe we can get some different website sections. So the whole thing, like, is this exactly what you want? No, but this just fast tracked me to getting some ideas on the page. And again, every single piece of this is editable. So I can grab all of the text, all of the images, and move those around where I want. And that's kind of the power of leveraging AI to at least give us a kickstart. And that's the conversations I'm having quite often with other designers who are also leveraging AI is let's kickstart the process. Right? Let's get the momentum and the velocity of this project cooking really quickly. And then we could jump in and start doing some custom problem solving.
Exactly. It's funny you said the blank canvas, right? And I teach a lot of people who want to create knowledge products and online courses and things, and I call it the blank page problem, right? And so in art, it's the blank canvas, and so I am so on this page with you, sitting down and starting from zero. This requires so much energy to go from 0 to 1, but this can just get you up to 60 or 80% of it, and then you're fine tuning. You're not trying to start from scratch. It's really welcome to the future. It's just an absolute miracle.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm always because my background is never went to art school, never went to design school, self-taught designer. I
Mm-hmm.
was addicted to reading design blogs and anything I could get my hands on that would help me get through that barrier to entry, right? But there was just so much friction to getting in the industry. That's why I'm a huge fan of education. That's why I started my YouTube channel, because I finally said to myself, I want to give back to my design community as well. And the friction for me was, and how hard it was to get a hold of design tools. They were expensive. How hard it was for me to get a hold of quality education so I could learn different design techniques. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
a fan of anything that breaks down that friction barrier and gets people to what really the point of design is all about. And that is to create products at the end of the day, whether it's a poster, a t-shirt, or a mobile application. If you have an idea, what's happening now is that idea makers, creative people who have a thought and they want to execute that thought, there's less barriers now than there's ever been. Like I'm a big fan of no code tools, which a lot of them have AI components and are AI driven. Why would I want to go spend 50, 60, 80, $100,000 to hire a development team to build my mobile app when I can learn some of these fantastic no code tools with AI driven elements in them to build that app? That's a way easier barrier to entry. There's way less friction. And now the people who are really going to succeed are the ones that have the ideas, but because there's no longer the friction.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, Figma, flowcharting using AI, amazing, game changer. Now using Musho to be able to literally just tell it what you want and then watch it build it real time. Any other favorite tools you're using right now, either within Figma or outside of it for design?
Sure. Yeah. I'm a big fan of Midjourney still. I think Midjourney's
Yeah.
tools for generating images are probably some of the better image generation that we see right now. And it's actually pretty fantastic for generating ideas or that kickstarting the concepts for website layouts, mobile applications, color palettes. Really,
Mm-hmm.
instead of now for me, I don't want to go to Pinterest. I don't want to go to Dribble. I don't want to go to the design inspiration boards, because what happens there is I see a lot of people copying people. But when I can prompt AI with the things exactly that I'm looking for, it breaks down the search bars and the search process and the query process is an amazing revelation. It's an amazing bit of technology for me to
Yep.
be able to ask Google a question and get an answer back. But that question and the answers that I receive are so dependent on what other people have posted versus I can actually say, I like these colors, this style, rounded corners, show me an interface in this style. And it's so much closer to what was already happening in my brain versus having to search and filter. Now, what I can do is
Hmm.
the filtering is happening in the prompting. So it gets me to the answer a lot quicker. And I think Midjourney is still a great tool for doing that, for getting inspired instead of looking for inspirational sites. So I'm a big fan of Midjourney,
Hmm.
big fan of ChatGPT for all the reasons we already mentioned. There is another tool that's kind of coming up on the market. I would say it's still in the very rudimentary states or stages, and it is called UIZerd. So instead of wizard, it's UIZerd. Let me see if I can actually log into that here in a second. But the idea is they now have user interface generation like instantaneously. So with the same type of prompts, here it is actually, the same type of prompts, I can actually choose whether I want to do a mobile, tablet, or web application, and I can give it some sort of prompt. So let's go back to our banking example. I can say, it's a banking app. Let's get a little bit more specific for freelancers and I can't spell today at all, for freelancers and small business. Okay. So something like that. So for freelance and small business, it should have maybe, I mean, let's be a little bit fun here since we have AI doing it. Quirky style with fun colors. Okay. Wow, I really can't type today at all. So let's do that and just make sure we correct things. Now it's going to ask us to describe more of the style, or we can just pick down here. So I'm going to go light. Let's go artsy, maybe a little bit techie and young. And I'm going to put, let's go neo brutalism, which is like a popular style right now. Let's just generate the
Yeah.
project and see what comes up, right? That's a crazy idea, a banking app with like a young, trendy tech, kind of like neo brutalist style, but it's going to do a bunch of its, like AI thinking right now. And again, this still feels very rudimentary. So would I ship or actually launch the products that's going to be produced out of here right now? No, I definitely wouldn't. But again, it's going to get me really, really far and actually start creating a lot of those standard user interface patterns that we all know and love. And we just realize they're probably right. So I'm expecting it's going to give me some buttons. I'm expecting it's going to give me maybe some widgets or like bento boxes. I don't know. Here it goes. Let's see what it comes up with right now. And again, my hands are up. AI is doing all of it. It's going to drop in like some login screens, some bento boxes, some chart banking charts, some tags. It's doing all of this for me on the fly, and it's gone ahead and selected the color for me. And it's going to ask me, how close is this? Do you want to regenerate? Do you want to try it again? And we can even kind of zoom in here because this is also a browser-based design tool where I can go in and actually get any of these elements and start moving them around. But I mean, is that is that super crazy? Like, is it super like in the wrong direction? I think it's at least getting us close. And if I don't love this, I can start tweaking and changing. But this has really saved me a ton of time. Like, I don't want to have to build yet again another search box. I've done it a million times in my career. Do I have to do another one? So I let this do it for me. So kind of interesting. It also like prototyped and flowed everything together. So I actually could like send this out as a like clickable prototype for people to like experiment with. You can see that I have little connection lines here. So we could do that as well. So again, something like that is it rudimentary? Is it like the best award-winning design? Am I gonna win an Apple award for that? Not at all. Absolutely not. But it's going to do a lot of the grunt work for me.
I think the technical term for that is that was sick. That's it's just again, it's unbelievable what's going on here. You were talking about how okay, so you can search, and I mean Google Images is a spectacularly valuable. Pinterest, these things, but you made a great point, which is you're going down someone else's rabbit hole. You're kind of constrained by what they've already come up with. And this is the thing that most people don't get about generative AI is that it's creative. It actually synthesizes all of the ideas, maybe for the first time they've ever been synthesized just for you. And then it can get you that first kind of 60 to 80%. And I mean, even if you're hiring a designer, if you sit down with a designer and you start talking to them about what you want, and then they have to go through that whole kind of, rough draft ideation, mood board kind of process, to be able to just sit down for a little while and do this, and then go to a designer and say, okay, this is kind of like what I want. Now go and make it really good. That can leapfrog you dramatically, right?
100%. Putting these types of tools in the hands of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, like startup founders, is not removing the need for design down the road. But what it is it is putting the cocktail napkin sketch on steroids and getting me a lot closer to the vision of what should be executed, right? Of what should actually be created. I love when my clients, because I do a lot of freelance work, come to me with rough wireframes. They drew them pen and paper. They scan them, take a picture of them, send it to me. I love that because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And that's what AI is also going to do. Like you said, because it's generative, it is going to synthesize a lot of these ideas together, and it starts to take more and more of that guesswork, that mystery, that question mark out of the process. And that's the hardest thing about any creative process is what's going on in my mind, the same thing that's going on in your mind. But if somehow you can use AI and you can visualize what's happening in your mind, well, I can take that and I can finesse it, massage it, and bring it to completion, no problem. Right. But it's when your vision doesn't necessarily match my vision because there's a communication barrier in between. That's actually the beauty of text-based prompts. As you start to describe it, it starts to visualize it. That's actually what the process of design is supposed to be anyways. A founder, a stakeholder, they conceptualize and they speak it. And we as the creative take those prompts, take those ideas, and we bring it into execution. We bring it and visualize it. This is just, again, closing that gap. It's narrowing that gap so that the process is so much smoother.
Yes. Well, most people don't know what they want until they see it. And so to be able to see those, those sketches, those version ones, those kind of, concepts, and to be able to just keep going, that's the thing about Midjourney, as far as I'm concerned. I think Midjourney is the best. And, it kind of always has been. To be able to make a concept and then follow it and make variations and keep tuning and do 100 iterations on something that in the past would have taken, I don't know, years, and you could literally do 100 iterations of something in a few hours and really, get somewhere really far. And so, and then again, like you said, you can then take it and go to the kind of professional that'll help you make it real, and you don't have to do all of that stuff in between of trying to figure out what you're thinking of in the first place,
Right. And not to like try to work my fellow designers out of a job, but again, I'm like, more power to the creative person, the thinker, the person who has an idea and wants to execute upon it. And so they leverage tools like this. They leverage no code tools, and they can get a mobile app into both the Android and iOS app stores within a couple of weeks. I know people who are making six figures off of bubble apps, like bubble.io, that they concepted using certain AI tools. They got an idea out of Midjourney, ran it through here, got a real kind of like grungy looking MVP, launched it on Bubble, and boom, they have like monthly recurring revenue, which is a wild idea. You went from idea in your head, text-based prompt, couple of tweaks and changes using some stuff, and then right into a no-code tool, and you have monthly recurring revenue. It's a new world. It's a new economy.
Yeah, absolutely. And to speak to your point there about designers, I still work with designers. I love working with designers because they take this stuff and do, like what you're doing here. It's like it's another level, and I can show them, here's an idea that I have, or here's something that I came up with. And then the professionals, I think that it's a real productivity tool for all of us if we can think that way. Okay, quick action step here. So the key is learning how to prompt better. You start out prompting by just asking questions and talking to AI like it's a helper, but you quickly realize that getting better at prompting is a huge accelerator and game changer for your own success in life. So these prompts will not only help you get a lot more done faster and accelerate your success, but they'll also help you really get prompting and get better at it. You can get all of these as a gift from me just by going to metamind.co/gift. That's metamind.co/gift. And I'll put that link below and then just opt in to get it. I've also created a powerful video for you called AI in the Future of Business and Work and Success that demonstrates some of the key mindsets and prompting strategies to help you get up to speed and get a lot more out of generative AI. And it's also included as a free gift when you register. So just head over to metamind.co/gift to get your AI Accelerator Prompt Pack and the other free goodies. All right, back to our interview.
Yeah, it's I love that you said that, if we can think that way. And I think the way that we have to stop thinking is to get out of any sort of fear-based mindset that says, me as a designer, this is just trying to take my job. You're trying to lessen the quality of my work. No, actually, what we're trying to do, fellow designer, is we're trying to promote you. We're trying we're trying to get you to those higher levels of problem solving. We want you to be art directors, creative directors, like strategists, because that's what's going to push the ball forward more than pixel pushing and drawing yet again another box with rounded corners that we're going to put the word search in. That's not going to move humanity forward. But the more that we release ourselves, release my fellow creative brothers and sisters from the chains of pixels and push them more towards strategy and creativity, man, that's where we really start to make massive impact on the globe.
Will designers have jobs in the future?
I think so. I think there will always be a place. Now, I don't know what it's going to look like. I can't read the future, but I do know that every time there's been a major push in technology, there's been those that say, I don't want to go with that push, and they're going to transition out. And there's those that are willing to say, I want to move with that push. And of course, there's that third type of creative that comes into the industry with those things already being the de facto, already being the standard. No, I can think back to at least 2 or 3 technology shifts and push, which made my fellow designers all go, oh no, what does this mean for us as designers? One of those was when we started moving away from, I remember when Adobe Dreamweaver came out. God, that must have been 25 years ago. And all of a sudden you could visually create websites. All the developers I knew went, what is this, trying to like kick me out of a job? No, it's just giving other options, right? And then everyone got very kind of Dreamweaver went away. We're all going to get really proud. I was very proud of hand coding every website I built. And then no code tools started coming out, like Webflow and Framer and all these great tools. Well, what does this mean? Front end development's going to go away? No, it's not. It's not saying it's going to go away. Remember when WordPress became the primary technology? And I think still to this day, 65% of all websites published online are using WordPress. Like, there's a massive push to templatize and use WordPress. And people started thinking, what? Anybody can just buy a template and make a website? Yeah. There's these pushes forward in technology, and they always make a certain amount of people go to this fear-based style of thinking. But what we should be thinking is, and what can I do with this? How can I leverage this? How could this make massive impact if I was to use it? I think that's a much better way of thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to prompting, do you have any prompting hacks? Like, what have you learned about prompting? And when you teach people about prompting, right, what's your insight about it?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's just what I've learned or over the last 8 to 12 months, what I've seen working better in prompting is, and again, maybe the tools, maybe the AI is just trending this way, is more natural language prompting. Natural language prompting mixed with specific keywords, I think, is starting to work better and better. So you saw examples of me saying, I want a banking app. I want it to be fun. I want it to be, those things are starting to work really, really well. And the reason I suggest them is maybe not because they're most effective, but because people who are new to prompting and new to AI feel less intimidated, right? Otherwise, they feel like they need to know certain keywords. I got to do comma separated, like all these things. It's like, start out with natural language. And I like what you said earlier, generate something and then continue to chip away at it, continue to evolve your prompting, add to it, take away from it. But I always recommend that people start with natural language and start to append on any tool they're using, maybe small kind of like deviations or things that would kind of like change direction. So if you're just not finding things are working, go back and change your initial kind of natural language prompt and then start just adding or targeting using specific tagged words.
What do you think is coming for AI in design? When you look out into the future, a year, 2, 5, 10 years, when you're like in that creative space and you're thinking, oh, maybe I can, see what's coming through the mist. What do you think is coming? What kind of future are we going into?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like Minority Report. I
Hmm.
think we're going to get to a place where my words are more powerful than my hands. And the reason I think that is because that's always been the goal of technology, is to get computers closer and closer to our natural way of operating. Then all of a sudden, personal computing became a thing. And then we went from the desktop personal computer into the laptop. It got closer to me. And then we said, hey, let's put it in our hands through devices. Let's put it on our wrists in watches. Let's put it on our face with glasses. And Neuralink is on its way. We're going to see like what that does. But as we go closer and closer, what we're really trying to do is actually become somewhat like symbiotic with artificial
Hmm.
intelligence, because still to this day I've been designing for close to 17 years and I am fast. I am very, very fast and efficient at what I do. And that comes with lots of time. Anybody that does anything for a long period of time gets better at it, gets faster at it, gets more efficient. But even with 17 years of experience, I still am thinking 10 steps ahead of what my hands can produce. And
Yes.
now my hands, my physical capabilities are the bottleneck. They are the friction. And so
Hmm.
the goal is going to be for artificial intelligence to allow me to work as fast as I think. And the only way that that can happen is, like the next step, I think, is going to have to go to my words. I'm going to have to design with my words. I'm going to have to generate something and go, that's wrong, move this, change the color, redo the palette, da 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 da. And it's going to be working and changing in real time. I think that that's where we're going to go. And then eventually, I don't know, if I was going to write a science fiction novel, I would just be designing with my brain.
Yeah, like Ray Kurzweil will have nanobots and neocortex straight to the
Yeah,
to the cloud,
maybe,
right?
maybe it's lit. I'm able, because I am in to some capacity with my level of experience, I'm able to visualize what an entire series of screens, 10, 15, 20 screens, how the
Hmm.
flow should work, what the interaction should be like based on pure experience. I can visualize it, but then it takes me
Hmm.
another 2 weeks to execute upon it. But I can
Yeah.
see it
Right.
clear as
Right.
day
Right.
right now. I know what's going to work. And so the closer I can get to that and actually output something fairly instantly, I think that's where we're going to try to go, at least.
Do you think that AI wakes up and becomes sentient and conscious? And if so, when? And then what happens after that?
I think I love having this conversation. I think that we are still in the playground realm of artificial intelligence. I think we're still making it safe on stuff and making the Elon Musk new robots dance and shoot at Cybertruck. I think we're
Hmm.
just in the playground stage. We're generating fun images, cute cat images, and that's the way all technology goes, right? When the internet was born, one of the very first things that started happening was people sharing pictures of their cats. It wasn't serious leveraging of information and connectivity. So I think we're still in that phase right now. I think
Hmm.
it's going to get a lot more serious. It's going to get a lot more useful. And even in all the useful things I just showed you, the way that I'm leveraging it into workflows, I think all of it is still baby steps compared to where we're going to be 10 years from now. Just think of how
Hmm.
quickly things have moved in this last year with artificial intelligence. I can't personally imagine what it's going to be in 10 years, but I know that what we're doing right now is going to seem a bit cringy in comparison.
So you're passionate about creating a lifestyle business and a lifestyle career and having more creative freedom, which I really resonate with as well. You told me you started out washing dishes and now you just love helping people to do this. So talk a little bit more about that and what's your vision for people and what do you want to inspire them to do with their lives and with creating value for others?
Yeah, I think a mentor of mine years ago told me that this thing has always resonated with me, and that is that time is the most valuable resource that we have. We can always make more money, but we can't make more time. No matter how much you try, you can be more efficient with your time. You can use your time a little bit more wisely, but
Hmm.
we are not capable of creating more. And so, with that in mind, and maybe it's because I'm getting a little bit older, I'm getting close to 40. I realize the value of the short amount of time that I have on this earth. And I want to spend that making impact, the
Hmm.
direct impact that I, as a husband and father, have on my wife and my children, my family, my friends, my community, my church, whatever it is. I want to have impact. I want to help people. I want to love people well. And you can't do that without time. I can donate. I can build a business, build a platform, and all those things can be useful. But at the end of the day, if I don't have time, it's one of those bottlenecks. So what I love about building a business for yourself, what I love about AI, what I love about online business and tools in general is it is a pathway for you to leverage all of these avenues, these tools to reclaim time.
Hmm.
There's things that I use AI for that save me hours of time a week. Um, Working remote, just like you do. I come out to this studio, this office. My commute is exactly 20 feet from my back door. That saves me time. I'm happy to reclaim that time because now I can give that time to something that's more powerful, more meaningful, and requires my time more than me commuting and listening to a podcast in the car. So I encourage everybody to pursue a lifestyle business of sorts because that lifestyle business might be you make $50,000 a year, but you vacation 6 months out of the year. I go, that looks pretty successful to me. To me, whatever is the best use of your time that makes the most impact on the people that you are around and love most, I go, man, more power to you. Do that thing. And the models of work, I think that were really kind of procured during the industrial revolution of I'm going to clock in, I'm going to clock out, and hopefully after 30 years, I'll have enough to kind of enjoy some of that time. I think that just thank God technology is starting to break down a lot of that old decaying model and it's allowing us to enjoy and utilize our time now. So I don't want to wait. I don't want to travel with my wife when I'm 65 and retired. I want to travel right now. I don't want to wait to have time to invest in my children or pour into people in my community. I want to do that right now. And so I think that we are living in an era that allows us to do that if we would think more creatively and we think more creatively about how we use our time and our resources and our skills. I think a lot of people are a lot more capable of being creative and using their skills to generate some sort of lifestyle or lifestyle business, even though they might not be able to see it. So I'm passionate
Awesome.
about that because if I can do it, I graduated high
Yeah.
school with a D plus average. If I can do it, you can do it. Anybody can do it.
Yeah. 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 And everyone, Jesse teaches design. He's got a new course. We'll put his links down below. Go to his website. Go check out his YouTube channel. Check out his trainings. Thank you, Jesse. Really appreciate you being on today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So thank you for watching another Metamind AI interview. Remember to keep practicing prompting, keep learning, get our prompt pack and quick start video, watch our other videos to learn from other AI experts, and stay tuned to us here on Metamind. Stay subscribed because this is going to get really interesting.